Welcome back to Two Who's Review. I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
And Sam is back once again.
Hello.
Welcome back.
And we'll be discussing the first story of the 7th Doctor era, Time and the Rani. It's kind of wild to me that we've been doing this podcast for 4 years now, and this is our first classic era regeneration story, pre or post. Like we've just been avoiding them so far. What's the deal? That's your department.
Yeah, because we haven't done that yet, have we?
No.
Like, have we at all? We haven't done it at all yet. I mean, I know we've both seen Robot, but
we've both seen Robot, yes.
Yeah, but we haven't reviewed. That's interesting. I don't know what that's about, actually. And boy, howdy, did I pick one.
You did. You picked an episode that, in a 2014 poll held by Doctor Who magazine, ranked 3rd worst in the history of the show.
Look,
right behind Fear Her and The Twin Dilemma.
Given that, I was expecting this to be worse.
Me too, and I think that's where I'm coming into this. Like, the lead-in from the previous episode was very much setting up oh man, we're in for pain, it's Time in the Rani. But I might be the victim of my own exceedingly low expectations when I'm like, it was fine, maybe even okay, which is kind of where we landed on Fear Her as well. So maybe Doctor Who fans from 11 years ago just had completely different frames of reference for trash.
Look, I don't think it's a good story. I think it's pretty bad in its own way, but it wasn't certainly as bad as I was expecting. I was bored throughout more of it than I should have been, but and there were, don't get me wrong, there was some pretty stupid moments, including there's a plot hole that I need to talk about later on. But anyway, overall, it didn't make me want to grind my teeth into dust and rip my hair out until I was bald. I didn't feel like I did when I was watching Destiny of the Daleks, for example. So, kudos to not being as horrendous as it could have been.
Sam, we haven't had you on for a huge amount of classic era stories, but compared to the ones that you have watched for this podcast, how did this stack up for you?
So, we were initially going to do this recording session on a Monday. So I watched these episodes the previous Sunday, and then due to weather that was going to interrupt recording, we pushed it back to the following Sunday, and then we pushed it back again to now Tuesday.
Yep.
More than a week and a bit later, and I gotta be honest, I can barely fucking remember anything about this goddamn episode. But here's the thing.
Okay.
If we had been recording on that Monday, I would still barely remember a fucking thing about this goddamn episode.
Don't you remember the big brain, Sam? Don't you remember that bit? And all the Doctor's funny misquoted...
Fuck, there was a big brain, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Are you being serious?
No, yeah, so, like, I haven't completely forgotten everything.
Sure.
But yes, I forgot that there was a big brain at the end. Until about 5 minutes before we started recording, I forgot those fucking bat things with 4 eyes were in the episode.
Jesus. Did you forget about the Rani impersonating Mel in a wig and her outfit for some reason?
No, because that's one of the only things I knew about this episode before.
Coming into it, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you the things that left the biggest impression on me that I remember the most clearly. One is very negative, one is very positive for very negative reasons.
I can't wait.
One is I never want to hear Bonnie Langford scream again.
Yeah, fucking hell.
And like
This is, I think,
I will as an addition to that statement, I will say I'm generally not a fan of criticism of female character screams equals bad. I feel it it tends to lean misogynistic. But she screams a lot and
She
is
does.
very annoying.
This is the first classic series Bonnie Langford episode we've discussed for the podcast. I
Yes.
would love to know, Fitz, is this a common thing for Mel? Does she have pipes in every other episode she's in?
I don't know if she screams quite as much as she does here, but when she does, I think, yeah, it's pretty similar to this. So,
God, because it reminded me of Willie from Indiana Jones and the
Oh,
Temple
yeah.
of Doom, and that is not a good comparison.
no, no, it's not.
What's the other thing you remember?
Yeah. What's the other
So
thing?
the
Say
other
on.
thing,
The positive for a negative reason thing.
I can't wait.
it's not enough to just have landmines. You've got to have tripwire activated landmines that put you in a bubble, and the bubble slowly lifts into the sky, and then it just fucking flies at the nearest cliff at Mach speed and explodes.
And it vaporizes the flesh from the skeleton.
Unless there's a main character in there, in which case it misses and it just sort of lands next to a beach.
Yeah, I think it hits the water at some point.
Yeah.
Those were clearly there to show off the brand new computer generated effects they were able to do with this new era of the show, which I will say, not the worst. Like when when the force field bubble thing hits the mountain and they do a practical explosion, like sparky thing as it bounces off, I'm kind of like, all right, not too bad, not too bad.
Like I say, for as stupid and nonsensical as they were, I was like, that was done pretty well. I don't know why it's like that. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but it looked cool, and it's going to be something I remember from this episode, which is more than I can say for like 95% of the rest of it.
At least it's not, the flipping triangle from the Five Doctors.
No.
I love
that
that
was a lot more
triangle.
charming.
Leave the triangle alone.
I will say this though: the insects, which I guarantee you Sam's not going to remember because. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
I didn't even remember they were insects.
Jesus Christ! Okay,
I don't remember people talking about insects. I don't remember seeing any.
We get the moment with the insects like halfway through, 3/4 way through episode 3, and then it's like halfway through episode 4 where they call them insects. And I'm like, wait, those were fucking insects? I didn't know they were insects.
Well,
were they lasers that were shooting out of a big disco ball?
Things.
Were there any insects, Cuff? Because I didn't see any. I saw one fucking green light floating around the screen. That's all I saw.
Well, those must have been insects. I don't know what to tell you.
But the funniest part is, and I guarantee you the cast was told this, they were told, it looks like they were told, oh, go and just run around and act like there's like bees around your head or something like that, because that's what it looks like is happening.
Yes.
There's one beam of light that's chasing some of them. That was I
thought I saw 2 or 3.
Well, if there were 2 or 3, that still is nowhere near enough, right? Because I can excuse a lot of bullshit when it comes to bad Doctor Who effects. That's fine. It's just part of the theatrical fun, almost theatre kid experience. But if you're going to do that, at least integrate it into the show in a way that's not so obvious that no one could take it seriously. And my suspension was, I was about to say my suspension was completely disbelief. No, my disbelief was in full force when I was watching that scene. And the weird thing was, like you said, you weren't sure whether they were insects or not. I'd forgotten that scene until today. Until I was watching it, it's like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. Right. Anyway, I will also say the brain was pretty cool looking.
Yeah, like I said, there's a few decent practical effects in this,
Yeah.
and even computer effects. Like the first time I noticed that they color shaded the sky to give the planet a different skybox, I was like, "Oh, that's subtle. I didn't pick up on that instantly.
Yeah.
Nice touch."
I think they did it in Revelation of the Daleks as well, something similar.
Maybe, yeah.
And I think the only other thing that was, there are a couple of other moments with the CG that were pretty bad. The opening with the TARDIS floating around space. There's a green screen effect at some point that's not very good. But certainly the practical effects are kind of the least dumb parts of this story, I guess.
Well, certainly, it's rare that we have a post regeneration story that isn't following a regeneration story, and that's the case here. I have no idea.
Well, okay. It's interesting you say that, Cuff. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but I'm literally looking at the wiki page for this episode to like try
there's
and
some-
remember what fucking happens.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some stuff.
And just as you're bringing up the fact that it's a regeneration story, I find this little tidbit. This serial was originally written with the Sixth Doctor in mind, and he would have regenerated at the end of the story instead of the start.
Oh.
But Colin Baker refused to come back for anything less than a full season, but the BBC executives responsible for him being sacked would only permit one story. So they couldn't come to an agreement, so they kill Sixth Doctor at the end of the story that happens before this one, and this is the regeneration into Seven.
I don't think that death actually happens in The Ultimate Foe, which
No,
is the
you
previous
don't.
episode.
It's on on-screen one.
Because this is
from what I
between
remember.
seasons. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
like they
certain
just flip
that
him over, and it's
Sylvester
very
McCoy.
clear.
They-
It's very clearly
they
Sylvester
literally-
McCoy in a wig.
In a blonde wig, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I think the majority of they obviously fixed this in Big Finish. There is an audio drama called The Brink of Death, which pretty much everyone agrees is the canon ending of the Doctor. It's good that the extended media gets to fill in the gaps of stuff like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the result of that is that we have a new Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. The Seventh Doctor. Sam, how much Seventh Doctor had you seen prior to this?
I think I saw the last one of his, like, over 20 years ago, and I saw him got shot by LA gangs
in the movie.
Yeah. And you would have seen his touching scene with Ace in The Power of the Doctor as well.
Yeah, that too, I guess.
I suppose that counts. But based on your limited exposure to Doctor, what's your general impression of him? Like, how does he rank for you?
It seems largely inoffensive from what little I have seen, and like what little I've seen, I barely remember. Some of that because it's 20 years ago, some of it because it left no impact on me despite being a week ago. But like, he's fine, I guess. I don't know. I don't really have that many opinions on the Sylvester McCoy Doctor because I've seen so little of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like what he does with the role. I like what he brings to it. I think it's purely because there are elements of it that his performance in a weird way. Like both McCoy and Capaldi can tend to take on kind of like a teacher kind of a role, like an elderly uncle tutor kind of thing. I don't know.
Like I'll put it this way, if I might. I think you and I have watched some pretty good
yes
Seventh Doctor stories. We've watched post Cartmel or the Cartmel era, essentially, the Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
Some stories better than others, but generally the way the Doctor's written and definitely the way he's performed is really solid, quite dark, mysterious, quite a lot of depth.
Yes.
There is next to none of that here. Now,
yes, and like a huge part of that is clearly the memory loss that he goes through with this.
Part of this,
and obviously,
part of
there are
would
also
be...
there are also elements of like the first time a Doctor is on screen is never the full characterization. They're still
it's post-regeneration jitters. It's the weird amnesia subplot that we've got going on. But I just cannot help but look at this and think, this is almost a different character compared to, something like Remembrance of the Daleks, for example. I like
completely.
that he's a bit goofy. I like that he's having some fun, and that he's, being a bit of a moron sometimes, but he's using his intelligence and others. But it's funny, but Mel says, you're not the Doctor, and I can't remember exactly what she says, but something like, you're just like a weak imitation. Well, she's not wrong, because...
And don't forget, that's comparing it to Colin Baker's Doctor.
Yeah, that's a sad thing, right?
Bless him, but he's my least favorite Doctor so far, and that's not his fault.
No. To be fair, we haven't done Trial of the Time Lord, and even from memory and from what I've heard, there is a bit of a decent arc with him in that, but...
I'm really keen to watch that.
Yeah.
I have seen some clips of that one fairly recently.
Did you enjoy them?
I did, yes.
Cool.
I don't know if I would enjoy them more or less when put into the whole context, but in isolation, when he's talking about how Gallifrey is a corrupt shithole, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good.
That was probably the best. I think every Who fan would agree that was the best on-screen Colin Baker moment.
Yeah, I'd believe that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the sad part is with this story, it's a regeneration story, and I get that the Doctor is always a bit different, even from future episodes. But I honestly don't know how much there is to say about the Doctor in this story. Am I the only one who thinks that?
No, I do think it's interesting that there's never a moment when the Doctor completely and clearly recovers from their Rani-induced amnesia. It just doesn't happen. I mean, it's.
I mean, they do get a bit sharper as the episode goes on.
Yes, but even in episode 4, he's still doing the whole I'm combining two, I'm mixing up
idioms
my
together,
phrases or idioms. Yeah, and it's still really unclear by the end of the episode, if it's worn off, if it's wearing off, if it's still in effect. We don't get an answer.
The mixing of idioms. Am I misremembering? And isn't that something he does consistently for his entire run, or is that just in this story?
I think if he does do it, it's not nowhere near as consistent.
I don't remember him doing it in any of his other stories, but I've only read each of them once, so I might be forgetting.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, again, if he does do it, it's nowhere near as frequent as he is here.
Well, and I think as I say, I've barely seen any.
Yeah, fair enough. So because it does happen a lot. I think almost. Maybe not literally every time he speaks, but pretty close to it. He says some
if they didn't
wacky
do
version
it as heavily as they do it in this episode, I wouldn't mind that work of an incarnation of the Doctor.
Because they do it a lot, and some of them are funny. I liked what is it? Where there's a will, there's a beneficiary. Or the one that I really liked was
I remember that one.
Every dogma has its day. I kind of thought was cool.
I liked was it the early bird keeps the Doctor away or something like that? That was
yeah. So they're fun little moments, and you can see that Sylvester McCoy is having a really good time with them. But there's not a lot of chance for depth with this character.
Well, yeah, when I'm watching this episode, I'm kind of I mean, this is fun and all, but this characterization isn't what I remember about the Seventh Doctor. I remember him
Yeah.
as more of like the level-headed calculator, the guy who's
Yeah,
like,
the
oh,
Machiavellian.
I'm 10 steps ahead, whether you know it or not. That guy,
Yeah.
and I don't see that in this portrayal.
Yeah. Now, again, granted, post-regeneration madness, and he's drugged basically throughout most of the
Yeah.
episode, but you'd think he'd at least gain back a bit of that cunning and guile by the end of it. But
And I'm kind of annoyed in a way because what I knew going into this was that the Rani disguised herself as Mel. But
Yeah.
like that happens about 15 minutes into episode 1, and then at roughly the same time in episode 2, it's resolved. And I'm like, oh man, that's a unique premise for a post-regeneration story. I kind of wish
is that how long? Does it only take that long? I could have
it
sworn it was
it
longer.
doesn't take long at all, man. I was really hoping that they would like do more with the premise, like that Mel would like properly get like framed as the Rani, and there would be some kind of dire consequence for it. And like the Rani would string the Doctor along a bit more. Maybe we could.
Oh yeah,
The
I guess
Doctor
that's
piece it
true.
together,
Yeah.
and then he works it out, but doesn't let on
Like
the audience of like, hey, he knew that since this point, and he was tricking the Rani as well. But like, I don't
well,
get
there's
any of that.
almost.
It just
Yeah.
it sort of becomes very quickly. It becomes just another Doctor Who story where
I mean, it's
the Doctor's facing the Rani, and I'm like, well, no, you brilliant premise.
well. Here's the thing, right? A couple of things. Well, firstly, there's almost a threat to it, but it never really gets there. And the only major consequence after that, the second half of episode 2 is like the Rani gets kidnapped by the Tetrap bat thing because he thinks that she's Mel or something, and that's just played for comedy, really. So I do see what you mean. There isn't a lot of dramatic weight to a premise that is fairly original. The other thing,
well,
sorry,
I remember it never would have worked, so I've never actually like properly pitched it. But I had an idea for a regeneration story. That was basically like you contrive a situation in which the Master and the Doctor are wearing the same outfit, and they both die and regenerate at the same time. And for that first post-regeneration story, the whole thing is like they're both claiming to be the Doctor. Who is lying? Who is telling the truth?
I mean, that sounds
like
a pretty
imagine
cool
if
idea.
that was like if that was resolved in like the first 15 minutes of an episode, and then the rest of the episode was just, and now we have to beat the Master.
Yeah.
Like how much less interesting that would be.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Which is true. And the other thing I'll say is this: I get the novelty of getting Kate O'Mara to wear a red-headed wig and to wear Mel's outfit and to speak in Mel's voice, and how funny that is and how kind of intriguing it is. I have to believe there would have been a more how should I put this? A more efficient way of doing that from the Rani's perspective, right? Because think of this: she's a brilliant chemist, sort of dabbles in kind of genetic engineering based on what we've seen of her. So, would it not be possible for her to maybe do something where she completely took on the form of Mel, and you literally would just have Bonnie Langford pretending to be the Rani? I get that obviously that Kate O'Mara wouldn't be in the story as much, but even then, as you say, that it gets resolved pretty quickly. So
I think
I don't know. Am I onto something there, or
I don't know, because if the point is that the Rani's trying to the Rani's trying to convince the Doctor that Mel is the Rani, and that doesn't work if they look identical. That only works if they still look a bit different from each other. So that the Rani can just go, well, she's clearly wearing a wig and wearing my clothes.
I guess so. Yeah, fair enough. The other thing, and this is a plot issue that I have with it. How does the Rani know what Mel's personality is like? They've never met. There's no evidence that the Rani's using some sort of, I don't know, digital personality replicator or something like that. She just shows up with the slightly squeakier voice and the kind of mannerisms and behaviors. There's no evidence that they met. So I don't know where the Rani would have gotten the ability to copy her personality like that, or
I feel like if they just had like one line where they just sort of like lampshade it and be like, all his fucking companions act like this. I'd be like,
that's
you know what?
because like
It's kind of lazy, but it's also kind of funny. So I will give it a
true,
pass.
actually, because
but like,
I don't
nothing.
remember. There's nothing specific about the Rani's like characterization of Mel that makes me think she's latched onto something specific.
Yeah, like it is a very generic. I am a young woman who likes the Doctor and knows him.
I think there's references to. There may be references to Mel's mathematical skills in those early scenes, but I think the Doctor is the one to bring them up. So yeah,
the Doctor
maybe
is the one that brings up a lot of like stuff regarding Mel's actual like past.
Yeah. So maybe it would work, but for me, I want a bit stronger.
I don't know. Maybe she's cold reading the Doctor to get information about Mel. And the more he mentions stuff, the more she's like, "Yes, I am good at maths, aren't I?" And just makes a mental note of it. And you're like, "Okay, do good maths. That should be easy."
And you say the Rani's a brilliant chemist, but she isn't brilliant enough that she doesn't fall for the "Hey, look over there" trick.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's another thing, right? I'm mainly going off her characterization in The Mark of the Rani, and yes, there are some very stupid moments in this story.
Yeah,
that we're gonna have to talk about.
The Doctor literally manages to escape custody by pointing behind the Rani and going, "What's that?" And it works. And he's able to.
You know what sucks about that is if you altered that slightly and he said, "Mel, look out," and then the Rani turns around, that could have worked. But as it is, it's very silly. And also, he takes like his scarf or something, and but he doesn't tie her up. He just sort of pushes her over on the table and then runs. I don't get that. Also, and I was going to bring this up later, but I'm going to do it now. When the Rani gets pushed into the little cell area, Kate O'Mara is clearly climbing into that thing on her own.
Yep.
It's very obvious. And it's very stupid. And I can laugh. I can laugh at its ridiculousness, but I'm still not happy about it. Yeah, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah. But it's a good thing that the Rani's plan is increasingly intricate and convoluted. Because, like, holy shit, this thing is difficult to describe. There's a meteorite of like.
I don't know what the plan is, and that's not because I don't remember the episode.
Yeah.
There's an asteroid.
Immediately after finishing the episode, I was like, I don't know what her plan was or what it accomplished.
There's an asteroid of strange matter that's passing through the orb, or near enough to the orbit of this planet on it in its solstice.
Yeah.
And the Rani knows that if she destroys it, it will enter the planet's atmosphere, and she'll be able to do some fucking chemistry, physics.
Sure, it'll
create
release
an engine that will allow her to control the very essence of time. The problem is, in order to destroy it, you need strange matter itself, and she can't get any because it's so goddamn heavy. So she decides to kidnap the most brilliant minds from all of history to help her devise a solution,
a lightweight
a lighter substance that will allow her to puncture the strange matter
by putting it in a rocket that she tries to launch at the strange matter, and she's trying to get what the Doctor calls helium-2, whatever the fuck that is. So that's some substance that's going to help her use the brain to create. I even forgot what the Doctor calls it, but time. I think it's just called time manipulator, so that she can do whatever she wants with time, and she wants to go back and destroy human history and let the dinosaurs become the dominant species and some bullshit like that.
And she's also subjugated the Lacertian, because that matters.
Lacertians,
yeah.
Yeah. To help her do this.
Like, there are so many steps in this thing. It's way too messy for its own good.
And we haven't even talked about the Tetraps, the bat people, that are her servant cronies.
Cool
people.
design, though, I admit. Like,
Oh, yeah, actually. And decent practical effects, actually, for the time.
decent enough, yeah. It's certainly better than the Lacertian costumes, which are pretty pathetic.
What, they're just basically like hyper-colored
Clothes and a bit of face
Renaissance,
paint, yeah.
Renaissance fair outfits, some face paint and weird little
Essentially, yeah.
scales.
Yep.
I mean, they do their job, but yes, they're not terribly impressive. I think all the budget went into the Tetrarch costumes of the Brain, so there's that.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the Lacertians for a little bit?
I mean, sure. I mean, there's some kind of weird thing happening where it's like their leader is going along with the Rani because the
She's
Lacertians
threatening to
themselves
destroy
have been, like, threatening to destroy them. But there's also like an element of, we've trapped them in the center of leisure, and they've become so like inert because of all the fun they're having that they're not like pragmatic anymore. That's a weird layer. It's a weird layer on the episode that it ends with the guy destroying the antidote to the insect venom and being like, if our species is to survive, we need to innovate on our own. I was like, that's nice, but like, people might die if they don't get that. I don't understand.
Just tell them to get out of the building. Okay, it's their fault if they're staying there. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ.
There's a difference between we need to solve our own problems in order to survive as a species, and
yeah, and
I
like,
will die if I don't
bye-bye,
drink this thing
cure.
right now. Exactly, yeah, like, what the fuck? At least you can give it to your scientists so they can synthesize some more.
Yeah.
You don't need to destroy it.
Bye-bye insurance policy.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of
like
characters.
Sorry, just real quick, that element of the story, it feels like one of the writers was like, I'm being really clear with this. I'm hitting upon a really relevant like theme from our modern society, and it's like, I don't know what it is. They're clearly trying to say something, but I don't know what.
Well, it was Pip and Jane Baker. They created the Rani, introduced her, and then went on to write at least one story during the trial of Time Lord. It might even be two. But at least one, certainly. And, they've written something. Not 100% sure what to call the story apart from confusing, but it's something. Stuff is sort of happening. I was going to wait to talk about this, but I'm going to do it now because I'm honestly kind of running out of stuff to talk about. God, Jesus Christ. Is this going to be even shorter than Mark of the Rani Cuff? Because I think it might be.
It might be.
Anyway, so I want to talk about what I see as the biggest plot hole in this story. When the Rani gets trapped, how does she escape? Because the closest indication we get to that is when Bayus, who's the old dude who's, obeying her, he shows up after, changing allegiances back and forth a little bit. The Rani says, "Let me out of here." Bayus gives her a weird look. We cut to another scene, and then later the Rani just appears in the control room.
Yeah, my implication,
and that's it.
My read of it anyway was with Bayus let her out, but it was doing.
Well,
the
problem with that is there's too much, especially in context with his ending. There's too much characterization, in my view, to leave that detail ambiguous. I don't think the story can afford to do that. Because even when the Rani says, I can't remember what she says, but she's basically threatening this guy. he's sort of grown enough as a character so that threat shouldn't have as much weight. And when you've got just this ambiguous, weird look on his face, the first time I watched this story, I almost thought that he was going to destroy her or something, or just trap her in there forever. Like, that's the level of ambiguity I think that I was dealing with. So I see what you mean, Cuff, and it's not like catastrophically bad, but Jesus, it's annoying. Because it wouldn't have it wouldn't have taken that much to clear that up. Like, what? You could have just had the Rani. You could have had an interaction between the Rani and Bayes. You could have literally seen him releasing her or something, but they didn't do that. So it's just annoying in my view.
And by the end of this story, I was mainly, in terms of Bayes, is this the most pointless self-sacrifice that the show's ever seen? Like, he goes into the chain. Like, it was very pointless. Like, they set the charges up around the brain to destroy it when the Rani activates, and then he's like, "I know what I need to do," and then he does nothing. He just stands in the room and watches as everything blows up. And they tack on a line at the end where it's like he must have known the only sure way was to hang back and make sure it doesn't to make sure nothing got tampered with and make sure it absolutely went off without a hitch. But like, we can see it didn't. Why not add a scene where one of the Tetraps like tries to like stop it from happening and he's able to fend it off so that we can actually see that the self-sacrifice meant something.
Like, be like, oh no, this'll work, but it has to be a dead man switch. Someone needs to hold it in place.
I was fully expecting that.
Yeah. And we do see that that the machine stops working because it stops on the number 4, and we see that multiple times, including the weird little watch that the Rani is wearing. So
it was working. Didn't need to happen.
Nope.
That poor woman lost her daughter and her husband in one fell swoop.
That scene where the I've forgotten her name, Faroon, I think her name is, she confronts...
It doesn't matter.
The reality of her daughter's death, that's kind of an interesting scene, because there's an attempt at pathos there, but...
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think I've run out of things to say about this story. I cannot think of...
I didn't watch Mark of the Rani, obviously, but I did watch this, and I did watch Reality War and everything that led up to it.
Yeah.
Is the Rani just a shit character and always has been?
No, because I think Mark of the Rani is good. Mark of the Rani is a good episode, and it's a good.
Not brilliant, but it's pretty decent. And she's a lot better. She's a lot better in Mark of the Rani.
Is more than just this episode was bad, Reality War was bad.
Yeah.
I ask because the Rani has always been like one of many classic villains that for the entire revival people have been like, I wonder if one day they'll bring back the Rani. And more than any other, the Rani has just always felt like the discussion around the Rani has had like two sides. One where people are like, I can't wait for the day they eventually bring back the Rani. And then the other side were people who had actually seen the episodes the Rani was on and were like, God, I hope they never bring this bitch back.
Again, I see what you mean.
It's just one of those things where, like, I've mentioned it before. I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but I've mentioned it to at least one of them in conversation.
You've talked about it with me before, I think.
Yeah, I'm tired of recurring villains being individuals as opposed to groups. Because, like, when you bring back the Daleks or the Cybermen or the Sontarans or the Silurians, any of them, they're like, okay, this is a whole species. They have there's lots of things you can do with a large group of individuals. You can have wildly different Sontaran characters, and we got like Strax was like a weird, interesting departure for like as much as they overused that group of characters. The idea of a recurring Sontaran who was a good was like an interesting thing you could do with that group. But like when it's just the Rani, or it's just Sutek, or it's just Omega, and it's just this one guy who appeared like twice tops. Like, what do you do with that character? And the answer seems to be just like you just do the master again. And like I said when we talked about Reality War, why not just fucking use the master? The master's like the only one of those old villains who appeared enough times over a long enough period of time that there's a lot of different interpretations of them, and it's interesting to see more new interpretations. The Rani is just like I know it's two different actresses, and which presumably means regenerations between the two, but like, does she act particularly different here than Mark?
Well, she certainly does as Mrs. Flood. I mean, that's something to consider. That
Yeah,
was
I mean, yeah, but even then, that seems like an outlier that only as like a plot convenience to not give away that. Even though fucking half the audience guessed that the first episode she showed up in.
I will say, having seen every Kate O'Mara Rani performance and having seen every Archie Panjabi Rani performance, I do see the differences. Like for me, it's sort of like comparing Roger Delgado's Master and where it's sort of like this is the first new interpretation, so it's less of like a new take and it's more like this is my idea.
I suppose so,
but yeah, I don't know.
And also, unfortunately, Sam, you also have the unfortunate distinction of where it's like the only Rani episode you have seen is the good one, and it's the one that pairs the Rani with the Master, so you get to see very clearly
the contrast,
ways in which they are different.
Yeah, that's also true. And I think the way, unfortunately, that Archie Panjabi's Rani is written is she's written honestly kind of as a lesser version of what we see in Mark of the Rani. She's got the hallmarks of this character, but she's just less interesting, less compelling, and she feels less individual. Like, I think one of the big distinctions between them is, for some reason, Archie Panjabi's Rani wants to bring the Society of Time Lords, and even though she's got this sort of world domination sort of angle to it, there's more contempt for the Society of Time Lords on the Rani's part that's demonstrated in this story, and especially in Mark of the Rani. She's just kind of traveling around space doing her own megalomaniacal thing. So
she's just
those
doing her own
differences,
little experiments, and she wants to be left alone by the Time Lords for the most part.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's annoying, I suppose.
Maybe one day I will watch Mark of the Rani, and I'll be like, okay, actually, there was something here that just got squandered every subsequent time. This
I
one.
think
I agree with that.
I would wager, like, obviously back when the whole "I hope the Rani comes back" or "God, I hope the Rani doesn't come back" discussions were happening. I wager that maybe the discussion might have been around the potential of the character of the Rani and what they could have done in a new interpretation, because like when you look at the Zygons, it's like they were only in one classic era story, and then they came back and had a minor role in 50th as like Easter egg kind of thing. But then when they reused them in Capaldi's era, he churned out one of his best ever stories. There's a potential that you could be like, well, maybe if you do that with the Rani, it could lead to gold because it's an established character and we can get a new interpretation or a new take or a new angle. That's not what they ended up doing, but I don't necessarily think that means that the character by itself is poison. I just think that it was mishandled more times than it wasn't, which is a shame.
Well, like I do agree. Obviously, a good writer can make can take elements of old stories and make them more interesting. But like again, I think the advantage of the Zygons is that it's not one guy called Mr. Zygon who has an established personality that you would have to
Yeah.
completely ignore in order to get invasion and inversion to work narratively. They're just like, it's an alien and they can shapeshift to look like anything. And that's all you really need to be able to take the elements and like, because like you didn't have to use the Zygons. You could have had any alien with the same powers, and
Yeah,
it would have
true.
been as effective. But like,
Yeah, sure.
you've got one in the bank that you can use, so why not use it? But yeah, like
Have you?
I feel like a character like the Rani and other one-time villains who are just individual people are more hampered by the fact that they're like, well, you've established that the Rani is a scientist and she's like doesn't care about ethics and like all that stuff. So like any new interpretation, even like because the Rani has the advantage of being a Time Lord, so she can have wildly different personalities in future regeneration. But like you still need to have those core traits
Yes.
Yeah.
repeated every time, which limits what a new writer can do to make this a new story conceptually interesting, I think.
Yeah.
It's not
I'd
a
agree.
hard and fast, there is no way to make this work, obviously, but
It's just more difficult.
it's harder, and I don't think anyone has done a good enough job of it.
Yeah, that's
Because,
fair.
Fair enough.
like, RTD didn't bring the Rani back because he had a cool idea story that involved the Rani and the theme of that character.
Mm.
It was just like, that's a name that people recognize that we haven't brought back yet.
I guess in that
And
regard,
that's
like,
really it.
would you say that like the toy maker is the best example of that we've had so far?
I guess so, yeah.
Like from classic era only. Like if we're
Yeah, yeah.
including new era, then maybe the Well and the Midnight Entity would take that.
Yeah. That's a
But
good
yeah,
point. But
Yeah,
by
I
the
guess
way,
the Toy Maker is probably the best example. And even then, like it's just fine.
yeah.
I don't think it's like a stellar reimagining.
Do you guys watch the YouTuber Mr. TARDIS at all?
I used to, I don't anymore.
Right. Well, he made a pretty big video, like a decent sized video about the recent season finale. And he said something that I thought was a little bit radical, but it kind of makes sense. He said that for the next 5 years, the BBC should have a policy where, apart from the Daleks, the I think he included the Master, but definitely the Daleks and the TARDIS. Apart from them, no other previous property or character should show up in the show for the next 5 years. So that the writers will be forced to come up with new original stuff. And after this most recent season, I think, you know, there's an idea there.
I
mean,
unless the Cybermen were included in that list.
Sorry, excuse me. No, that's who it was. It was the Daleks, Cybermen,
Okay.
and the TARDIS.
You mean the Master?
No. Daleks, Cybermen, and TARDIS, no Master. I
TARDIS.
got it confused.
I mean,
Yeah, he meant like ideas, like properties, like concepts.
I see. Okay.
For as much as everything leading to the Ronnie coming back and what a wet fart of a climax that ended up being, like every other story in both of 15 seasons was like a new original concept. Not all of them were great, or like I don't think all of them, well, except for the Midnight Entity, I guess. That's the only other example
And
from Shuki's
Sutek.
run. Well, yeah, so like aside from your two finale build up to like the episodes, it's all new stuff.
Yes.
So like I feel like it is a bit unfair to be like nothing, no, only these two because they sell good, like, and make out like the season, like both seasons were just like marching out the old reliables again and again.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Because they weren't doing that.
No.
Granted, some people would argue maybe they should have done at least a couple of them. But yeah, like I think.
I guess it was just really obnoxious when it happened.
Yeah, like I
and
think the problem of those two seasons, for as much as bringing back an old villain is kind of boring when the alternative is creating a new one who like gets to stand among those classic villains as a new member of those like classics. I think the problems that those two seasons have is more like the breadcrumbing, we're teasing a
Yeah.
little bit more every time, and then you get to the reveal and it's at best mildly interesting and just kind of ends up in a deflated ending.
Yeah, 'cause,
Twice
like,
in a row.
as much as people like to complain about both seasons, and like again, I talked about this before, but like the worst part of each season was its finale. Everything else was
that's true.
fine to great, or maybe even more than that. Like,
Yeah.
and that's become the whole thing. I've mentioned before. Oftentimes, it feels like it doesn't matter how good the rest of your season is. If the finale is bad, people would say the whole season's. And with Doctor Who, I feel like that's even more untrue. It's so episodic and so different episode to episode. Like, one finale does not a bad season make. And the unfortunate thing is that both of 15's finales had the exact same issues with them. Where they wasted a recurring villain that was being breadcrumbed. And I think because of the fact that it happened twice, I think that's why this narrative is coming up about it happening too much. Because like if the Rani was in a vacuum and we didn't have Sutek prior to this, I don't think it would be as maligned as it has been. But because it has been shown to be a pattern, that's why people are rightly being like, okay, maybe let's.
Like I think Reality War would still not be good.
It would still be
for all the other things it does that are bad.
100%. I agree
but
with
like
that.
The Rani aspect would be less egregious.
Yes, agree.
If Sutek had been done differently,
or not at all,
or not at all, exactly.
Or even if Omega had been done a bit better, maybe
potentially.
I don't know, because
when
we got the like name drop of Omega, it's like, oh, so you're going 2 for 2. Like I wasn't excited when I heard the name. I was just like, oh, okay. You're gonna bring back 2 villains and waste them, and then come the next episode, no egg anywhere near my face.
I would have think. See, there's a way it could have been done really well. If you waste the Rani to bring back Omega in a really compelling way, I think that is fine because Omega is just intrinsically more interesting than the Rani. Granted, I would have preferred you not waste any characters, but if you're going to choose between the two, Omega is the one. And like, if the season had ended with, oh, Omega didn't return to. He escaped and is out there somewhere and we don't know where, that's gonna be next, like set up for the future. I'd be more inclined to be like, okay, this has potential, let's see what happens here. But because that didn't happen,
I don't know. But like we're dealing in hypotheticals at this point, but I feel like even if Omega had been interesting and had left room for more interesting stuff down the line, I mean, first of all, I don't want a bad episode to have the like asterisks on it, but it might be good later. Like
true, I hate that shit as well.
It's not good enough.
I hate that shit too.
But at the same time, I'm imagining what my reaction would be to that hypothetical Rani bad but Omega good, and I'm still just like, even if Omega was good and interesting, liked that part, I would still be annoyed that I'd had 2 seasons of Mrs. Flood being like, ooh, things are going to be interesting later.
That's
and
true,
then it's
yeah.
the Rani,
Yeah.
and she's wasted.
I forgot about
Even
that.
if it is in service to lifting
Yeah.
up something else that is more interesting. I'm like, well, just do
Yeah.
that then.
Yeah.
I agree.
Just do if Omega is going to be interesting, just do Omega. If the Rani is going to be the thing you put all your energy into, make her interesting. But instead you try bring back both and you do a bad job. Well, why am I still watching this?
I mean, I was gonna ask the question. I don't know if it really needs answering at this, but what's worse, Wish World and Reality War as a package, or Time in the Rani?
Wish World and Reality War for me, but that's for
I was going to
me.
say, if you ignore the 2 years of build-up the Reality War had, and you just look at that two-parter in isolation versus Time in the Rani, because they're both about the same runtime, if you think of it that way. Like, Wish World Reality War in isolation and Time in the Rani in isolation, what's worse?
See,
I still think Reality War is worse, but that's and I've had similar feelings of other episodes as well, like this. For me, frustration and being insulted is worse than boredom. So while Time in the Rani, is boring, a bit nondescript, and just kind of stupid, I can kind of ignore it a little, just say, okay, this is just a dumb episode, whatever. Reality War and the episode before it, whose name I'm forgetting because who cares, it did insult me quite a bit. There were technical elements in the storytelling that were dumb and stupid. It was ethically suspect. It was annoying and pointless, and didn't have a lot of dramatic weight, and completely wasted 2 previous villains, including a pretty important one, being Omega. So,
I agree with pretty much everything you just said. And I think the issue with the question posed is that I can't really look at Wish World and Reality War in a vacuum on their own, because
Yeah.
Because it's so linked
they exist in a context, both in the narrative of the show and in the real world production. Like, the reasons I am angry about the way the show handles 15's regeneration, like, they don't those feelings don't exist in a vacuum.
Sure.
So, like, I can't honestly answer that question, because if I separate it from all context, then it's just removed from context, and I don't know how to feel about it anymore.
Yeah, that's
well,
fair.
even then, the story is it's sort of poor. Like, even if you tried to remove it from its real world context,
I try hardest to divorce it from it sucks that this is how he's going out under these circumstances for these reasons, and it sucks that all the lead up to this is just wasted. Like you said, Fitz, there are like Ruby being like, no, the world you made that is explicitly like
misogynistic and homophobic and freaky,
homophobic, and like, at least you wanted a world that was nice, like
and
that, like, indefensible.
And when you add in baby making ending, I mean, it's just
Actually, since we're bringing it up now, I thought I had, after we recorded that Reality War episode, the 4 of us, the thought occurred to me, the first thing we ever see Belinda do in the show is reject a like patriarchal assumption of marriage and wifehood. That's that's an introduction to this character.
Yes, I
and
saw
then
the same thing.
That's the ending we get for her.
Yeah, which is just really insulting.
Yeah,
and frustrating. But yeah, like, even if you tried to remove from its broader real world context, which is kind of impossible, but even if you did, the story itself in context with the season and the stuff that happens in it, it's too much to ignore. It's too frustrating. It's too pointless. It's just too stupid. Like the fact that we had a Doctor lasting for only 2 seasons, never meeting the Daleks, never, and just not having a good send off, as you say, Sam. Like it's just annoying.
When you think about it, this
Anyways.
episode, Time in the Rani is also emblematic of not giving a proper send off. Just in the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had a nickel, I'd have 2 nickels.
Who knows? One day, maybe we will know more about what happened behind the scenes that led to these decisions, and we will look at Shooty leaving the show in much the same way that Colin Baker leaving the show is like, ugh, people fucked up. And
I think
bridges
that's
were
pretty
burned.
inevitable. People are, I mean, I think there's already theories sort of floating around about the very problematic production issues that occurred behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But as the Seventh Doctor himself once said, time will tell, it always does. So this has been our review. Sorry?
No, that's what I say. It's one way of extending this review beyond the
I was
way
going to say, we actually
thought it
did
would.
do a decent length episode by stopping talking about this episode and just complaining about Reality
another one. Yeah, this has been our review of Time in the Rani and our review of Reality War Part 2. And I hope the audience enjoys it, because God knows neither the Reality War or Time in the Rani was terribly enjoyable.
But what score would you give Time in the Rani, Fitz?
Because
I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, 4.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I will remember the spinny pink orb mines and probably not a lot else.
So even by our ranking system, this isn't even close to being the 3rd worst Doctor Who story of all time. Even if you disregard episodes that came out since that poll, there's so much that we have ranked worse than Time of the Rani. We put 42 on par with Time of the Rani. I'm just going to we put Underworld beneath it. We put the 2 Doctors beneath it.
We put Destiny of the Daleks beneath it.
The Idiot's Lantern, Destiny of the Daleks.
Boomtown,
and Attack of the Cybermen and Legend of quite a lot is worse than Time of the Rani as it's.
And boy, I can't wait till we get to the Moffat era, and even apart from my biases, I know you've said, Cuff, there are definitely a few episodes there that make you want to rip your hair out. Whether that be Asylum of the Daleks or The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, I can't wait till we get to those.
Those are the main 2 that spring for me, and The Angels Take Men. Those are the main 3.
Yeah.
Those are the main 3 Moffat stories that I turn my nose up at, and I say, you stink. Anyway, Sam, want to say anything?
I mean, if you were too late to watch Heather last episode, you're definitely too fucking late now.
Not quite. If you are listening to this episode shortly after release, you might still have time to come in and watch Heather. There are 3 shows remaining. 1 show on the 8th of August at 7 o'clock, and then 2 shows on Saturday the 9th of August, 1 at 3 and 1 at 7. That's at the Forge in Gwynville, and you can find information on where that is and what the show is about on any the Dire Theatre Company social media pages.
Or you can follow the Dire Theatre on Patreon.
There you go. That's probably a better time, yeah.
I can't guarantee it at this point in time, but maybe we filmed it. You can watch it there.
Maybe, yeah. The Dire Theatre on Patreon. That's an excellent use of money. They do great stuff.
Yeah.
But next time, me and Fitz will be here by ourselves, and we're going to be checking out the Fires of Pompeii, unless, of course, watching Partners in Crime last time has made you decide to watch series 4 again, and you decide, nah, I want to talk Pompeii. Unless you
Well, actually, I had an idea. I mainly wanted to do this because I was going to be in Canberra, and I wouldn't really have a DVD player or anything. But we could do Edge of Destruction, because I know that's an episode that Sam has seen. So, Sam, if you want to come back and do Fathers of Pompeii and the Edge of Destruction, you're welcome to.
I mean, I am definitely going to rewatch season 4. I'm already downloading it off of
Sure.
totally legal websites. And that's defensible in court. But yeah, I think for the moment, the only thing I've discussed previously with either of you is Unicorn and the Wasp, because I like Agatha Christie style murder mysteries. But yeah, as I rewatch everything, if there's anything I have a lot to say about this, I'll let you know, and I'll show up in that episode.
Sure, we can do Edge of Destruction, or we can do Dalek Invasion of Earth. Actually, that might be a good one.
Yeah, I don't know if you can ever hear these podcast recordings happening through the walls, Sam. But if you're ever like, oh, I know what they're talking about.
Sometimes,
literally, just get on the Discord. Like, there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing we can do about it.
Surprise guest.
Not even that. I could just go into your room and start yelling into your microphone.
I mean, I don't think I could probably count on one hand the amount of times you reached the boundary between the door and my room. So if you decide to do that, it will be a big shock. But technically, there's nothing stopping you. But until then, okay, I can't hear you moving yet. That's a good point. I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
And
I would have run into your room, but the laptop is on my lap, and I don't want to get up.
Okay, well, that's the only thing that's preventing me from forming a barricade. So thank you for volunteering that information.
Yeah. I will have to get up, though, because I need to piss.
Good night, everyone.